Hello, our friends, Evolutionary Energy Arts family.
Hello there. Welcome back.
Welcome back. So we got about 4 more days on Evolutionary before they will take us out of the timeout, but they are still going forward and, changing videos and taking videos out. This is just part of the system. So do check into EEARTS daily and Heart's Home as well. And then again, we might as well thank our Patreons now.
Yes.
Again, Patreon's going to have some unique videos going up over there. Thank you to Alicia. Thank you, Stephen. Thank you, Caden. And also thank you, Teresa.
Thanks, you guys, so much.
So here is your forecast. We got burning in the west, choking in the north, soaking in the east, sweating in the south. That about covers it. Everywhere you look, we're going to have extremes that we're going to have to be able to manage and handle. And of course, again, all you see everywhere is man-made climate change. We are all going to perish, just like Al Gore said. By now, the oceans would be swallowing us all up on the coastlines. Well, it hasn't happened now, but, yes, a lot of people have lost their lives to extreme apparent weather events, and again, what's the real source? So I wanted to show you guys this. This is 30 days, 4.5 and higher. Now, we just had this one, a 7.2 up in the Alaskan Peninsula, which we're going to cover. And you can see down here along the Mexican coast, we had a 6.4, we had a 5.1. This was a 6.3 over by Chiapas. We can see, what's going on here. Well, you don't have much in Cascadia or the San Andreas happening, but there's a lot of action above and below of significance. While Cascadia and the San Andreas are very quiet, and it feels, seriously very, very ominous. And this is again part of, the next 2 eclipses. It feels like all this is completely tied in. And, maybe I should have pulled up the 2 eclipses again to go over that for those that haven't seen them.
Mm-hmm. No, I was just going to say, you were saying last week, it just felt so quiet. It already felt quiet, and it already felt like there was something building. And I got to say, I felt that too. When it comes to these great big events that go on, I don't like to feed it fear. So I'm in the mind that, okay, we have some building, but everything is going to be okay. Things are going to go well, but we have more things coming together. So I think in that sense, we need to watch it. It's not just the earthquakes. There's other things coming together to paint a fuller picture. And these eclipses, boy, they make changes. They move timelines. They change people's vibration. And I want to save a video when people go through difficult things. It has been very difficult lately through the Saturn retrograde, and I want to talk about that more maybe on another video. But boy, these eclipses, the energy coming up to the eclipse, and then of course the peak and the energy going out can be very difficult. It can be very transforming. I mean, you have to look at it and perceive it. How do you want to perceive it? If your life changes, you can have the mindset of trusting the guides, trusting the world and the universe, and knowing that, okay, this is going on. It really, really stinks. It really stinks. But I know in 6 months from now, it's going to be to my benefit. And I think if we hold that higher vibration, it's going to really help. That's what we want to do. We want to keep our eye on the higher prize.
So, again, there's an X here, and it comes right through Cascadia, and, we have the San Andreas down below it, and this X is right over Texas, probably right, it's so close to San Antonio over here, this particular X. And we have the April 8th, and we've talked about X marks the spot so many times, as it seems like this began a tribulation period of sorts. As you see, August 21st, 2017, that's came across a similar path, just higher compared to the one that we're going to see in October. It came in off of the Oregon coast again, and this one left right over Charleston, and Charleston is again another area that's seen 7+ earthquakes. Of course, we've seen major earthquakes. 9.0 is what they said hit in 1700 in Cascadia, and yet we also have seen activity down in this area in Mexico, and as you see in these quakes off of Baja, this one right here, this one right here, you can feel the energy, and that's the thing. Go into and sense the energy. That's really what we got to develop. There are so many signs here, and if the moon is, and what we have gotten is the moon is placed in its position by the power structure, and the power structure again is not human, then they're utilizing this to tell us their plans. Now, in times past, and even today, you'll have more people that will say, well, this is just simply the work of God, leave it at that. And the question has to be, which God? Because, that term has been used on countless different beings. So, which God are you talking about? Are you talking about the creator of this universe? Or are you talking about the creator of the dark matrix that we find ourselves in? That's the real question. This, by the way, right here is the New Madrid. So it feels like it would be very logical if we use the way that Dutch sense has given us an understanding of how energy flows, and others as well, that it would roll in down into Cascadia through the San Andreas and then transfer over to the New Madrid. And, again, Cindy's kind of gotten a vision of all those happening very, very quickly. And then the guide said that what they're trying to do and what Mother Earth is trying to do is to slow the roll so it's not so quickly, not so devastating, because if the timeline does come to pass where these happen very, very quickly, then obviously the U.S. will be left in complete devastation overnight. And again, another thing that this one points to me is again, all those that have come over the border areas coming into the country. It feels like it's a foreshadowing of maybe an activation of these sleeping cellular units that we call them.
We really got to keep an eye on things. To change vibration changes so much. When we do an energy session on someone and we change that energetic vibration, people usually become more congruent to their surroundings. Just things happen for them easier. Things that are supposed to be up and coming into their life do enter their life. They find different healing modalities to help them work on whatever they're doing. And this is from an energetic standpoint. When we change the vibration of someone or rise it up a little bit, things get a little bit better. But could you imagine what if you could do this on such a huge scale? I mean, you could make ginormous changes on the planet.
So the October 14th one is now less than 3 months away, and the April 8th, 2024, less than 9 months away. And I do think that these are harbingers of what's to come, as we really must do our best again to get ourselves as situated to be as self-sufficient as possible. So there was a tsunami advisory that was issued. This was like 32 kilometers deep, so relatively shallow. And in reality, I think that's better if we saw something up here. Again, there's not a lot of people in this area, which is a good thing. And Alaska has seen 9.0s as well. But if you did see this at a very big depth, then the likelihood would just increase exponentially for something of a much higher magnitude into Cascadia or the San Andreas, but still with the activity that we've seen and with a lot of interesting volcanic activity as well. This is Shishalden volcano, which has raised the aviation color code up to red, and this is in the same area. This is right where that quake was, and so ongoing eruption intensifying. And the other thing that they showed, Cindy, was something that was really unusual, where they wrote down 1.5 years back in December of last year, which would take us to perhaps sometime in June of 2024. They were showing her volcanic eruptions going off, and then they were showing her scenes of war. And the impression was it was somewhere in the American Northwest, the Pacific Northwest. So we've paid big attention to that. This is an interesting little interview here that you see going on, where this pilot is talking about something that he saw that was a half-mile long that was observing this volcano we're talking about in the area that we're talking about. And then there's a second UFO which appears in the area as well. This is from Open-Minded Approach. Yeah, there are all sorts. He's putting up underground bases. Oh yeah, there's tons of underground bases. There's many beings that are more advanced than humans on the surface with the technology we're allowed to see on Earth that live here too, and they live under the oceans. They live inside the planet itself. There are, though, many that just watch because this is fascinating stuff for many. There are so many that observe. And Cindy has channeled so many extraterrestrials that have just passed by and, been watching. And they find humans fascinating because here we are. Humans don't understand that they're living under a control matrix. That's not the original matrix of this reality. It's a dark control matrix. And the vast majority of humans don't have a clue. They might think there's a deep state. They might think there's some political corruption going on. But they don't understand that they're not being controlled by humans. They're being controlled by non-humans. And for many extraterrestrials, this is fascinating.
Mm-hmm. It is, to watch basically us get ourselves out from underneath a control matrix because we know that we can, and we make that intention. Our thoughts are so very important, and seeing yourself how you want your life to be, that's the very first step. So knowing how powerful our thoughts are, that is if we could all just start to understand that and keep our thoughts ours and not let someone come along and control them, and start to create a world that is separate from the control grid, boy, we could certainly make major leaps and bounds when it comes to our being free and then expressing ourselves the way that we're supposed to express ourselves, our emotions, letting them kind of unfold the way they should, like a butterfly or caterpillar turning into a butterfly. It's like it doesn't read directions. It's not told what to do. It just does, like a flower blooming. It's not told that it's pretty. It's not told how to do it. It just does. And so many parts of us are like that too. Unfortunately, it has been taken and it has been utilized, and the energy has been directed in a way that's not going to be advantageous to us at all. It's just going to keep giving the controllers more energy.
Yeah, we have to be aware of all these things. There's a lot coming together right now, and this is the time when a lot of things are coming together that we've been talking about for a very, very long time. And, there is still a PDF. I don't know if it is available, honestly, anymore. But we can find articles that are talking about it. And so I was just doing a search for a report, 90% of the population, grid down, and we could see this. This is from January 24th, 2019, back in December 2018. this report came out and said that, if an EMP struck, 90% of the population could be lost because of the chaos that would ensue. And the fact that we are so soft and cushy, and we are not like our great grandparents, that could adapt much easier and be like, okay, well, that's all right, everybody, we're planting today, and they would just handle it. They would be able to handle it. We are a technology-driven society for the most part, and especially, again, all those in the urban centers. And an EMP is most likely to be the first thing that hits, and what will hit? Massive confusion. We won't know. We're gonna wake up, and maybe it happens in the middle of the night. Huh, that's strange. Computer won't turn on. Huh, the fridge is off. Well, our power is off. Neighbor's power is off. Start talking to the neighbors, and I don't know. Do you know? No, I don't know. I can't get a cell signal. This is exactly, the type of thing we'll be facing. And then we'll be wondering, geez, is this the whole state of Texas? Is this the whole state of California? Is this the whole state of New York? How far does this extend? And we wouldn't know, and we might not know for a long time. Again, a very good short series that they did decades ago was called Jericho, and it did postulate this type of idea, and so did the controllers in the U.S. postulate it. So that's what this report says. We wouldn't know, and the chaos that would ensue would be really truly unimaginable. Well, we're getting close to that time, and really this type of thing could happen at any point in time. We see the signs of it all over. There's other volcanoes going off. This one's shooting up to 54,000 feet. That's pretty substantial. It's in Papua New Guinea, so it's very close to the equator. And for as much as they tell us that we're all going to melt or be swept away, and this is, by the way, New York City, a massive water main break shuts down southbound FDR. Yeah. And is that from shifting ground? See, the thing is, we don't know at this point in time. Is this from something shifting? Is this New York City sinking because of the weight of these cities? Is this something being caused by sleepy cellular units? Is it just simply a coincidence? I don't think there's that many coincidences. The problem is we don't really know, and there's going to be so much confusion coming on. Now, La Palma, when I see activity in the Pacific, and I see even the mention of wildfires in La Palma, it really gets my spidey senses tingling, so to speak, because La Palma is what they've forecast to be. Some experts have said that La Palma could wipe out all of the coastal Atlantic cities, not just in the U.S., but also over in Europe and Africa, and even affects South America. It is literally a underwater volcano that could collapse with the right activity. Now we see wildfires there. There's wildfires everywhere. Again, it seems like we're either drowning or we're burning. And this goes back to that first map that we saw. So, is it because of the extreme heat? Yeah, increasing wildfires worldwide due to man-made climate change. Is it volcanic? Is it, again, being set just purposefully? On a case-by-case basis, I guess we could look into them. But here we see proton levels streaming past Earth reach the minor S1 radiation storm threshold, likely related to a pair of energetic CMEs. Now, CME is the other thing, because the sun is showing a lot of activity, and the sun could sneeze, and the sun could take out our grid. So, we are most definitely in the thick of things. And then we have this whole situation. U.S. supply of cluster munitions to Ukraine is a crime, and they are being used right now. There are reports coming out of multiple sources that these munitions are being used, and Putin himself said they're running out of bullets, so this is what they are doing. Putin temporarily nationalizes assets of foreign companies. What does that mean? That means he just took over everybody's wealth that is one of these foreign companies. These just they stole it. Nationalization, yeah, it means, I guess it means legalized theft. Right?
That's a very good vocabulary word. Yes.
Yeah. So, again, details to follow. But this is the type of thing we see before everything is completely cut off from one side to the other. Massive drone raid on Russian naval base repelled. Now, this is from RT. Multiple other sources are reporting this as well, utilizing a lot of drone technology. And why did those Wagner troops go to Belarus? Well, they're training the Belarusian soldiers for when it expands out into Poland and the rest of Europe. Yeah, again, we are going to see, I do think next April will mark a massive expansion of this conflict, and we'll see many, many other nations coming into this on the timeline that we're on right now. And war like we haven't seen since WW2 or 1, but then again, even then, we didn't see the technologies that will be in play. And meanwhile, Ukrainian military advanced south of Velika Novoselka on Zaporizhzhia front. Now, this is again where that nuclear power plant is. We had incidents at 2 other nuclear power plants, areas. One was where they refine, enrich uranium, and again, people did get injured and even lost their lives. So the NATO plan to bulk up military presence on the eastern flank faces serious problems. Yeah, again, they're starting to call up. This is part of it, and call up, and then call up more, and then institute a mandatory draft is the general progression we've seen in the past. Meanwhile, Mexico files complaint over Texas's Rio Grande barriers, as we saw Greg Abbott, who still has his own little WEF page. Yeah, he does. And, what we're seeing is Mexico becoming more and more openly confrontational with the U.S., and we can easily extrapolate this out. They've asked to become part of BRICS, so they will not be our ally in the coming conflict. And in fact, they very well might have been promised some states back. Georgia peaches. If there's no peaches in Georgia, then there are no more peaches, right? 90% of their crops were lost. 90% of their crops were lost. Yeah, due to the weather. Due to the weather, or due to the controlling of the weather. Anyway, you look at it, there's not a lot of peaches in Georgia. Climate is not changing. It's been engineered more and more. More and more understanding the bigger picture. Yeah, and these are military operations against humanity. Over in Tbilisi, no CB. Now, this is the other Georgia, by the way, the European Georgia. Or Asian, it's right there, basically used to be part of Russia, well, Soviet Union at one point in time. But again, no CBDC, understanding, FIVEG. People around the globe are waking up. It's never too late, and this is just weird. This is some sort of symmetrical undersea thing that was caught at a depth of 3,753 feet in the Indian Ocean. There's a lot of interesting things buried in the Indian Ocean. And it morphs. It changes its shape totally in front of the cameras. Is that the submersible Batmobile?
This was a really interesting one that I saw, and coming to the understanding that we have worlds underneath the oceans. We have beings that can move and shift and change shape so dramatically and in such a huge way. And they can do it easier in the ocean than they can do it up here in the etheric world. But we do have mer-cities down there. We have mermaids down there, and they do travel from one protected cell to the other protected cell. So when I looked at this, I saw it the first time. This is someone traveling. It's someone traveling in a way that we might not understand, and then watching it morph. This was absolutely amazing to see this. And really, when you start getting this information in your life, you really have to drop everything that you thought you knew. You know, you could write it off in a scientific way somehow, you know, so it's just, it ultimately, it's a shapeshifter. We're dealing with shapeshifters, and they're making themselves known more and more and more.
Absolutely. And so this is an example of a pup that absolutely trusts his mama. You know, we can trust our mama too, because she doesn't want to take us out as much as they want us to fear our mother. No, you know, she's the one that will catch us. We just have to be in harmony with her. We have to learn how to listen to her. We have to learn how to become symbiotic with her other offspring. And the system has taken all that purposefully off and away from us. They've cut us off from the other creatures and beings. And so there are mythological beings out there that we've, you know, heard about since our youth. They're mostly afraid of us because we've become part of that dark system. Or we're walking around with blinders on, and we just don't understand what we're doing, truly. So this is a big wake-up call. Again, we want to thank you guys for your support over on Patreon and Ko-Fi. Much love, God bless, and namaste.
Namaste.